My mom used to walk me to school every day. Again, my mother is a black woman and I'm light skinned. When we get to the school and my mom kissed me goodbye, the kids started teasing me. And it was happening often. And the kids were saying, that is not your mommy. You're white and she's explicit. And she's black. And now I'm from England, okay? And so coming to this country, I was still, young enough that I remember more of England than America at the time. And I didn't understand what that meant because I had never paid attention to the fact that my mother was darker skinned than I was. She was just my mom. I didn't notice. So I felt uncomfortable and I felt embarrassed. I didn't know why they were saying that. And so here I am, third grade. I go home to my mom and I say to her, Mom, I don't want you to take me to school anymore. And she says to me, well, why? And I said, well, because I'm embarrassed because you're black and I'm white. And my mother wept.
Seen this lady make a video about how biracial kids are putting down other biracial kids if you have a black mom and if you have a white mom. Now, does it make you any less or more black? I don't really think so. I think it's one half dozen of the other altogether. Now, when it comes down to culturally, there is a big difference. Your mother is your nurturer. It's the one that shows you how to go through life. I could tell just by the way you're talking, your mother was white. I could tell by the way it comes off. Like, there's just a certain energy a black mother's gonna give to their kid that a white mother can't give to their kid. It's just not there. And I'm not trying to speak for the entire community of black people, but a lot of the time, if a black man gets married to a white woman, he has to suppress some of his blackness to cater to that white woman and their family. It just happens. But as a black women were oppressed for so long, they will never change how they move for a white man. So a white man will have to accept this black woman, how she comes and how she wants to raise her family. Think about it like this. If your father is black and your mother is white, your dad liked your mother for a reason. There's certain characteristics of the white woman and the white people he enjoys. So of course the mother of his kids will be teaching the baby how to be a lot like her. So put it in reverse. Think about having a white dad and a black mom. The white dad probably really liked the blackness coming from that woman right there. He probably really enjoyed that he was with a black woman. It was probably his favorite thing in the world. So he allows her to teach that kid how she sees fit.
I'm gonna need y'all white parents of biracial kids to listen in real quick. I'm gonna give you fair warning, this might be an uncomfortable conversation, but it's necessary. A lot of y'all's kids have complexes and identity issues, and it's not because they have a white parent. It's because a lot of y'all chose to have biracial kids before you unpacked your internalized racism and anti-blackness. It's because a lot of y'all have biracial children without learning enough about the black experience to guide your child through a black experience. To guide them through a world that is inherently anti-black. Cutting off your racist family members is not all it takes to raise a biracial kid. In fact, that doesn't even come close to the bare minimum. You can have the best intentions for your children while still causing them collective harm. And I first noticed this when my daughter was an infant and I started joining Facebook groups for parents of biracial kids. These white moms would have the best intentions, yet end up on Facebook crying about how their child was saying they didn't want to be black and they hated being black. And because these parents did not take the time to educate themselves whatsoever on systemic racism and anti-blackness on a level that they would be able to appropriately raise a biracial child, they were on the internet crying for help instead of helping their kid. You cannot shield your child from experiencing anti-blackness in the world, but you can equip them to deal with it. I get told pretty frequently that my daughter will be mistaken for a black mom biracial, and I'm going to explain to you why. First and foremost, she is not raised in an anti-black environment. A lot of black men, white women relationships are inherently anti-black, due to the fact that the relationship is based on fetishization and the hatred of black women instead of mutual love. The way that I look at it, the world is constantly going to be hurling anti-blackness at my child. And instead of acting like it does not exist, I have been equipping my child since birth to be able to handle said anti-blackness through radical self-love and positive identity. My child has at a young age told me that she wanted to be white to match her family. Right then and there, we had a very long conversation about anti-blackness and racism at 4 years old, and how her blackness was the most beautiful part of her. She made a comment one time about her baby doll, her black baby with coily hair, being ugly. Again, we had a long discussion about colorism, texturism, and racism. After that day, that baby did not leave her hip. You cannot just be not teaching your kid to be anti-black. You have to be preparing them for an anti-black world. You have to ensure that you are not feeding your child a complex towards other black people, that you're showing them how to cherish and uplift their community. See, biracial kids with white parents can be raised to be pro-black, but many aren't. And that is because their environment and their role models are not pro-black. If you don't want your child to have identity issues, it starts with you. It is wholeheartedly possible for you to educate yourself. A lot of y'all simply choose not to. Do better.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Guys, I bring you this trending topic. So I saw a lot of people making videos talking about biracial kid with white mom and black mom. Honestly, I don't know that there's difference between the two, but according to a lot of people on TikTok, even the biracial children themselves admitted that there's difference between a biracial kid with a black mom and a white mom. Many of them also tell the story of how they grew up being biracial kid with a black mom and a white mom. So I'll let you watch some of the video I got for you guys, and at the end of this video I'll come back to give you my own opinion. Guys, I am learning a lot with these videos I'm making. Like, I am learning a lot. I don't know that there's difference between these two. Honestly, I was so shocked to know that there's difference between the two biracial. I thought once you're a biracial, there's nothing different. I'm just learning that there's difference between their upbringing and the way they behave when they grow up. Guys, let's talk about this.
Let's talk about it. If you're ethnically biracial black, that means that you either have a white mom and a black dad, or you have a black mom and a white dad. And those combinations mean totally different things, right? Societally, culturally, among the black community. One is perceived as very positive, and the other can be perceived as negative. If you're a black mom biracial, that typically means you were raised in the culture, you were raised to be respectful, you were raised to like not center yourself among black people. The opposite is true. If you're called a white mom biracial, that oftentimes means that you do center yourself, that you're not like accustomed to your culture, that you don't perceive yourself as black. Before we go further, I think it is important to note that this conversation of white mom versus black mom biracial is framed through motherhood, which is an inherently kind of misogynistic idea. It's this idea that mothers are the only one that sustain tradition and that the fathers are kind of just like left out of this conversation. I think it's just important to keep in mind. Let's start with black mom biracials, right? Like, zooming out from the children, I think we as like a black community oftentimes prefer or preference this idea of like a black woman being with a white man. It suggests that this person, this white person, is like flouting kind of typical societal ideals and is respecting and like relishing the idea of being like with a powerful black woman. And I think part of the excitement there too is the idea or understanding that the children of that union will be raised by a black woman. So these mixed black biracial children will be raised by a woman who prioritizes their blackness and like gets them comfortable with the idea of being black and involves them with the community and the history and the tradition and the ideals. And so that person isn't kind of like tragic or like stuck between worlds or kind of profiting from this biracial identity in a harmful way to the black community. And I think anecdotally, when we see these like biracial black children with black mothers, they're typically raised very well. Like, the moms themselves don't really mess up in these seismic ways. The kids know how to do their hair. They are raised in the black community. They understand about their history and their traditions, and they identify themselves as black. I just think also the kids know who they are. There's like less of this like, oh, I don't know where I fit in. Like, I don't know what my racial identity is. Like, there's less of that. There's more like confidence in the idea of like, I'm black and I have a white parent. But also can't be forgotten is that like when black women enter into interracial relationships and they know that they'll be having children, they typically like choose partners who will be responsible interracial partners, right? Like, a black woman, anecdotally, of course, will pick a white partner who is going to help positively raise this black child, who will not contribute to anti-racist ideals or like make that child feel weird or upset or sad about their blackness. Next, the white mom biracials, of which I am a member. Anecdotally and across this app and social media, we're very familiar with the idea of like white women fetishizing black men and fetishizing this idea of having mixed babies. In these situations, these white mothers raise their biracial black children around white people, and they typically don't really kind of introduce them to the black community or black culture or black history or black ideals. And so these kids are fundamentally confused, right? They're ethnically, aesthetically, physically different than their mothers and the communities they're raised around, and then they slowly kind of like absorb this anti-blackness rhetoric. In these situations where the white mom isn't like steadfast and super responsible about raising her children, these kids are raised and internalize like a lot of anti-blackness. Like, they don't know how to do their hair. They don't know how to decenter themselves in situations around other Black people. And it is ultimately harmful to the child because like they do like lack this confidence in who they are. And they also have those like proverbial feelings of, oh, I'm so tragic, I don't know where I fit in. Factually, I am a white mom biracial. Like I was raised in a predominantly white situation with a white mother. And my parents were like very into colorblindness, which is like a story for another time, which was ultimately harmful to me. I didn't know how to do my hair. I didn't understand my identity. I was very confused. I like totally felt tragic about it. And it wasn't until college where I like learned about being Black and history and culture and literature and like was around other Black people where I was able to like unpack and do all of this unlearning.
My mom was a racist white woman and she hated Black people, which is crazy because look at me, guys. I'm Black. I am Black. And when I tell you, she used to ask me all the time why I didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes, and light skin. I'm like, Mom, you're the one who ended up with the Black man. Why are you asking me why I'm not light-skinned? Like, you should be asking yourself why I'm not light-skinned, okay? And throughout most embarrassing thing, throughout elementary school, through almost like beginning of high school, I would tell people I wasn't Black because my mom was like determined and brainwashed me to believe that I wasn't Black. So embarrassing. Why did people even talk to me? Like I was adamant I was not Black. And when they would ask me, I'd be like, well, I'm not Black. I don't know what you mean. And they're like, what the fuck do you think I mean? So embarrassing.
No, because let me spill the tea real quick. Y'all are always so quick to say there's a difference between mixed kids with a white mom and mixed kids with a Black mom. I don't know what it is, but there's a difference. Nah, y'all know the difference. The difference is our moms, the white mom kids, were traumatized. Our moms were racist to us. Our moms made us hate ourselves. We grew up hearing the N-word at least 10 to 20 times a day, even if it wasn't said directly to us. And my mom actually remarried a white man and had 3 white kids with him. So surprise, surprise, when my brother is old enough to start saying nigger to me, my mom doesn't care. She actually laughs when I tell her. So the difference is we have no self-esteem because we grew up taught to hate ourselves. So don't be so quick to judge people, okay? Because this shit was really fucking traumatic.
These are for my fellow biracials that are on my For You page dressed like they belong in the cast of Little House on the Prairie. You're the reason that we get the stigma that we give. What they say? What do the girlies be saying? White mother, mixed girl with a white mother. They ate it down. They ate that one little thing, and it doesn't bother me because I know I'm not like that. You know what's the saying? Hit dog holler. Yeah. So it doesn't bother me when they say that, but because the stigma is quite literally true. You're sitting here telling Black women on how they should wear their hair, what they should look like, when your mom is literally white. You probably hate yourself. You're probably going through a freaking identity crisis. Instead of telling them what they should look like, why don't you learn something from the girlies or two? You wouldn't have the mentality that you have if you sat back and educated yourself. Or loved yourself. You know? But hey.
Us biracial kids with the white moms are the most problematic.
No, but can we talk about how us biracial folks, that's me, with white moms can be the most problematic, because a lot of times our white mothers will expect us to take on identities that reflect their own, because the sacrifice of motherhood is so severe that they kind of want their biracial Black presenting children to reflect their white experience. And I think a lot of folks like me, frankly, are just unwilling to challenge their mothers and say, like, I love you, but you are wrong. I love you, but my experience is different. And I love you, but I refuse to carry beliefs that are going to be violent towards other members of the Black community, because I love my Blackness too much to hold those beliefs, right? And that will cause like a rift with some family members, and has for me, but I would never take it back, because I don't want to be one of those people who holds us back.
Since we're on the topic of race, I think that this is a great story time opportunity to talk about my upbringing. I have a Black mother and a white father. Growing up, I didn't know that I was different, but I knew that something was supposed to be a secret. Trigger warning, this is about racial passing and my experience growing up in my hometown back in the day. We moved from another state, and my grandma, who's white, she kept telling me, you can't go around telling people that your mom is black. You have to tell them that that's the nanny. When you go to school, like, don't mention your mom. It's like, why? I remember asking her why. And she was like, because it's gonna be harder for you. They're gonna treat you differently. They're gonna put you in stupid classes and all this stuff that she was telling me. But I knew for my grandmother, it was more of a social aspect. She didn't want people knowing that her grandchildren were like half black. In this elementary school I went to, I noticed that double fountains, not just like a small one and a big one, but it was like a small one and a big one and then another small one and a big one next to them. And it was always near the bathrooms. And I always questioned, why is there two girls' bathrooms like so close to each other and two boys' bathrooms so close to each other? I didn't know that my school was at one point a segregated school. 2 black people in my whole school. Everyone else was white. My hair would curl because of the humidity, and my grandma wanted to erase the black. She wanted to erase the black. Back in the day, there was something called Japanese perms, a relaxer, and I would just remember my scalp burning in the shower. Other things that she would do, she would like, when you go to like the beauty supply store and you see like those like special soaps, she would put all those soaps on me and tell me like, stay in the shade, squeeze my nose, thinking that it'll make it smaller. Starts questioning you, just say that you're Italian. And it's just crazy. So there was this black boy named Jeremy that like joined our class like mid-year. When I tell you, that's when I learned that they'll treat you differently. Jeremy wasn't allowed to go on the blacktop. Jeremy had to stay inside. Jeremy, obviously like schools have like funding for like kids that can't go to like certain like field trips. They'll leave Jeremy behind. The kids would call Jeremy and like the teachers would just like laugh about it. And I always felt like Jeremy knew that I was part black, but he didn't like no. Like he like felt it but didn't know. That's when I noticed like, oh shit, if I tell someone I'm black, like I'm gonna be treated like Jeremy. So I just didn't tell anyone. It wasn't like I was ashamed or something, but I was taught like this was something bad. There would be like parent-teacher conference, and my grandmother would show up in replacing my mom. My mom's very submissive, very sweet woman. Oh, you can't show up. You're gonna ruin this family. You're gonna ruin her opportunities if you tell people. I'm not one of those like self-hating. I'm not here like, oh, don't look at my mom. Like none of that. Like me and my mom were really cool. Like we really chill. She was just here like yesterday. But my grandma, trials and tribulations. So my mom one day randomly decided to show up to the elementary school, and it was my birthday. When people saw my mom, they thought it was the nanny. I guess I slipped and said mom. This girl, I forgot what her name was, like Crystal or whatever. She was like, you're. And I was like, no, I'm not. So this Crystal girl went around, told everybody that I'm actually like black and making fun of me. They said, oh, that's why your hair looks like it's electrocuted. Like my teachers started asking me, they're like, are you? I was like, no, that's my nanny. That's not my mom. And I remember going home and I asked my mom, I was like, why can't I tell people you're my mom? And she was like, it's just for your own good. The moral of this story with the elementary school is that if I ended up telling people that I was black, I would have been in like these horrible classes. I wouldn't have been taught properly. I wouldn't have gotten like the new textbooks. They gave the black kids the old ass textbooks and had them in a different class. Like they would come for certain classes, but not all the classes. And you could just tell that they were like a little behind with school. And then I knew that, yeah, I was getting like good education, but I always like, it was nothing that I was like, oh, I'm ashamed of being this. It was like, why do I have to keep this secret? And nobody looked like me. And I was just so confused as a kid. But then when I got to high school, that's when I started noticing that people say some wild ass shit. I went to high school, people started calling people hard ERs. There's more black people. And nobody knew. Nobody knew. And then I think it was my junior year, I just like told everyone, I'm like, you guys know I'm half black, right? Nobody believed me. This is my mom, showing them pictures, showing them my cousins and all this stuff. I like finally, like, I used to like relax my hair like all the time. And then I finally like let my hair grow. I just like lived in my truth, and yeah, they treated me a little differently after that. But I felt so happy to just like not live with this weird secret. But then now I understand why my mom, well, it wasn't really my mom, it was my grandma. It was not like the imitation of art where I was trying to disown my mother and live my life as a white woman. That was not the case. I don't know, like as an adult looking back at it, I can imagine how confused I was as a child. I never like I said, hated my mom or felt like I was ashamed of being black. I just knew that I saw that if I told people, I would be treated differently. And so that's where the whole like light skin privilege and all this stuff and this whole biracial talk that's going on TikTok is like trending, because they're like, you don't know what it's like. And yeah, like I don't know what it's like, but I saw, and I also had a black mom, and I saw her experiences, and I saw how like my father's family treated her, and to this day I don't really like fuck with them like that.
One of the things I noticed about my white mom is she didn't have any foundational relationships with black women, but yet had a myriad of black men in her circle. So when I see a biracial child being raised by a woman who doesn't even have black women in her proximity, but can tokenize black men, this indicates to me that there is a dislike for black women. And if they have a black daughter,
do you guys feel some type of way when people try to like...
So I've been struggling trying to record this video and not trying to make it 1,000 years long. If it is, I apologize. And if you watch all of it, thank you. If you haven't seen her video that I stitched, she's asking biracial people with white moms, how do we feel with our blackness being invalidated, or having it sometimes be invalidated with this whole Kendrick and Drake beef. And honestly, I've always considered myself black. And it wasn't until coming to TikTok that I really saw the biracial discourse and saw how a lot of people feel about it. So honestly, I feel like it depends on how you are raised and how you view yourself and carry yourself in this world. Because growing up, I've always considered myself black. I know that's hard to believe because I'm very light, but my mom raised me like that, and my family. I didn't have my black dad. He was not in my life. We're building a relationship now, but yeah, I had my mom and his family, and then I had my stepdad and his family as well. So I was raised around my black family. And my white mom, growing up, being friends with mostly black people, she kind of, instilled that in me, like, despite being this color, you are black. The world may see and treat you like you are black. So you are black, wear that proudly, and use the fact that you look like this to speak out and advocate against stuff. My brother, who's also mixed, he looks straight Mexican. Like, people think he's either Mexican or Puerto Rican. They think he's Latino. They do not know that he's biracial, and jokingly, she says, like, that's my little spy. I want him to go around so then when people say messed up racist shit about black people, he can be like, bitch, I'm black. Bah, smack him in the face with some knowledge. But yeah, her genes were pretty dominant, but she raised both me and my brother like we were black. We had, full relationship with our families. And even though we may not have the best relationship with our black fathers, we know who we are. I feel like not a lot of parents of biracial kids do that, particularly the white moms and the black fathers. And it's really fucking sad, because then you get a lot of Drakes running around in the world. And I feel like the issue is a lot of biracial people, if they do feel a sense of if they do feel like they are ostracized from the black community, or if they feel like they are played on by their whiteness or all that, they automatically assume, oh, it's because I'm light skinned, but they may not think about the fact that they are not immersed in the culture. Like, if you are only claiming blackness when you are getting something but you don't claim blackness any other time, that looks a certain type of way. If you use your blackness as a platform, but you don't say anything to support black people or black issues, like, that looks a certain type of way. And historically, that has been done a lot. Historically, people that have looked like me will get roles as the Black Queen, despite there being thousands of actual beautiful black women, fully black to black parents, like black skin, well, dark brown skin, that could actually do the role, and you're gonna give it to me or Zendaya. Like, that's, I feel like, the issue that no one talks about or ignores when this biracial discourse comes up. So then you have a lot of white mom biracials being like, they just don't like me because I'm pretty, or because I'm this, or because I'm that, ignoring the racial reasons behind it. Like, even with me being considered black and considering my blackness, how my mom raised me and all that stuff, a lot of that comes from the one drop rule, which, again, racist. But unfortunately, we live in a racist society. How do we navigate it? It's all a big clusterfuck. The big takeaway I want you to have here, though, is if you are mixed and you do have a white mom, pay attention to who you see and who you have access around. Do you see your black side of the family? Do you not? Do you have black friends? Are you around other black people? Do you talk to them? Of course, there is going to be sometimes an awkwardness there.
If you're mixed and you got a white mom, stitch this.
I've been summoned. I understand where the original poster is coming from, because I too have a white mom who really has always tried her hardest to affirm us in our black identity. But if I'm gonna keep it real, I feel like unless the black parent or the black father makes a concerted effort to bring their child up in blackness, we will be raised as white children. My father was a black man. I think he saw us as extensions of himself, so basically black children, and thought my work here is done, when in actuality, we grew up in a very white area, so we only really knew whiteness and what it meant to be a white kid, but very much feeling like an other. I have a lot of longer thoughts about parents in interracial relationships seeing their children as extensions of themselves.
You got a white mom, don't you? I'm pretty sure I speak on behalf of the vast majority of black people with white moms when I say this. That's just as bad as calling a black girl whitewashed because she has interests similar to white people, or she doesn't act like your stereotypical black. Don't act weird because I said it. Black people know that they will call other black girls whitewashed because of what music they listen to, how they dress, how they speak, and whole time, how are black people supposed to act? That's just that black girl. So by you asking me if I got a white mom, you're immediately implying that I'm different from you before I even thought about it. Imagine your biracial person looks at you as an equal, treats you the same way they would treat themselves, and the first thing they say to you is, which one of your parents is black? That is what gives biracials a feeling of not belonging in the black community. We don't just pull that shit out of our ass. You do realize it comes from questions like that, right?
Really sorry that you feel that way and that's been your experience, but I have far too much self-love to be offended by someone behind a screen having an opinion like this about me. I love who I am. I love my upbringing, my family, my lived experience as a biracial woman with a white mom. And I have had the most incredible connections with all people, with people with white moms, black moms, people who are one race, multiracial. I'm not carrying around this ill will. I'm not carrying around fear and judgment and unhealed hurt and pain around this. But it's obvious when there is this level of unhealed hurt and pain. And obviously, it's not necessarily just in this lifetime. We're all carrying around generational pain. And biracial people have a certain kind of experience because they are biracial, because We are the convergence of a lot of this generational opposition. So my stance is that we move forward with kindness, with compassion, with acceptance, with understanding, instead of all of this judgment and spewing negativity and projecting and all of the other things.
I don't know how I got on this side of TikTok, but why do y'all hate biracial people with white mothers so bad? Why do y'all hate us so bad? Because at the end of the day, we are no less black than someone who is biracial with a black mother. Like, I want y'all to understand how genetics work. Like, we are the same amount of black. So the fact that you would get on this app and make several videos about how mixed people with white mothers are not black enough is hateful, and it's hurtful, and it's weird. Like, don't get me wrong, as a biracial with a white mother, I understand that there are cultural differences between me and someone who is biracial with a black mother, because my white mother does not have the black experience. But you know who does have the black experience? Her black daughter. And you know what my white mother did? She educated herself on black topics to teach me. My mother never hid the fact that I was biracial from me. Like, I know there are some mixed kids with white moms and even some mixed kids with black moms, because I went to school with several who did not know that they were mixed for several years. I once had this mixed girl, I believe I was in like 10th or 11th grade. I said something to her about being mixed because, like, clearly I could look at her and tell she was biracial. And she was like, "What are you talking about? I'm not mixed." And you know what? Her mom was black. Her mom was black and hid the fact that she was biracial from her, but my white mother never hid the fact that I was biracial from me. So you tell me who's wrong. My mother never hid the fact that I was biracial from me, and I remember being 3 and 4 years old and knowing that I was different from my white siblings and my white cousins, my white aunties and uncles and woo because I was biracial. But my mom never made me feel bad about it. She educated herself on black topics. She took classes on how to do my hair. She was very open with me about the fact that I was biracial so that I could live my life and have confirmation and boldness in my blackness. And as a 25-year-old who has gone through so much racism and prejudice in my life, especially living in the South and having the type of job I have, I'm thankful that my mom took the time to not only educate herself, but to educate me growing up and my family members on what it would be like to experience having a black person in your immediate family. I'm the only mixed person in my family, the only one. I do have a cousin. She's adopted, so I guess I'm not the only one anymore. But she's a child. She's 7 years old. So she's still having these experiences that I had when I was younger. But for so long, I was the only one. And there were some tough times for me growing up. But one thing my mom never did was let other people make me feel bad about being black. So before y'all say anything about mixed people or white moms not being black enough, or mixed people with white moms not being black at all, baby, my mama was 10 toes down behind me, and she still is.
Things I didn't know about black people because I grew up raised by my white mom and my black dad. I didn't learn this until middle school. My best friend, she had to educate me. I had no idea how frequently black people wash their hair, and I was way too afraid to ask. By the time I got to middle school, I just assumed that black girls washed their hair way less than black boys because black girls had different styles in their hair. And I knew that they didn't take these styles out every day, and I knew that they would mess up if they touched water. So I just did not know. My best friend had to tell me that every time she took her braids out is when she washed her hair. So it was like every few months or whatever. When I had my first boyfriend, he was mixed as well, but he had like type 4 hair and he had dreads. He's the one that taught me you can wash your hair more than every few months. He said I could wash my hair every day if I wanted to, but I don't have to. So that's when I learned that. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I didn't know how big church culture was in the black community. My parents did not see eye to eye with religious values, so they just decided to not have me baptized or identify with a religion. My dad is Christian, my mom is Catholic. I ended up going to church with another one of my best friends growing up, and that was my first time experiencing like a black like church session, and it was really interesting. It was beautiful. It was loud and rowdy, like I guess what you'd picture on the TV show. So I guess I wasn't expecting it to be such a close match, but it was, and it was kind of cool. Definitely had repast food, even though it wasn't a repast. Now this one's gonna stir up a lot of controversy. Up until I was like in late middle school, early high school, or actually past that, like my mid high school, I did not know that white people should not say nigga. I just thought, I don't know what the fuck I thought. I didn't think about it clearly. Like, I didn't know that wet dog scent was exclusive to white people.
It's been a while. So, I want to talk about the big elephant in the room when it comes to mixed people, right? Oh, you can tell who has a white mom and who has a black mom. Yeah, you can. The ones with white moms, a lot of times, they're either so aware, like painfully aware of what it's like having a white mom, or so on the other end of the spectrum. Like, there's no in between. And it's painfully true. The one thing, the major difference I feel like, and I've seen another creator talk about this, is like black moms might drop the ball on like regular parenting shit, like as does everyone else, but they never drop the ball. They never drop the ball on raising their kids to be confident in themselves as far as their race. Like, they never let their kids grow up confused about who the fuck they are racially and ethnically. Like, I just don't see it happening. Black women are the most aware of their race and their gender. Like, we literally have to be hyper vigilant about how we experience life. And so black women have to raise their kids in a world where everyone else will be trying to tell them who they are. I feel like black moms are like, no, like, this is who you are, you need to stand in that. White moms, a lot of the time I just see are so fucking clueless. I'm sorry to say it, but like, they have these kids for sport, right? Like, they're like, oh, like, this black guy is so fucking hot, and wouldn't our babies be so cute? And they raise their kids like not knowing who they are, not knowing how to identify. A lot of times they'll raise their kids around all white people, which is even more confusing. And personally, like, my dad also dropped the ball. Like, we can blame him too. I just feel like it's not fair. Like, I didn't consent to having a white mom. And I wish white women were more careful about who they had kids with. Because you have to transform your entire life. You have to unlearn every fucking thing that you've ever learned if you want to have a child with someone from a different culture. I would never, like, for instance, be with someone who's Asian and be like, but I'm not going to give up any of my prior cultural practices, and you need to assimilate with mine. Like, I would never do that. I would be willing to uproot my entire life to make sure that my kids were accepted, at the very least, within their family. A lot of mixed kids with white moms do not get the same grace. They just don't. White moms, not all, because I know some who do the damn thing, but it's very rare. It's very rare. And I just don't see black moms struggling with that.
So being biracial with the white mom is trending right now, and I just want to jump on this wagon. Dear black people, do you not see how harmful this is? Like, do you not? Let me give you some examples. You don't know what it's like to grow up mixed, because you don't realize that a lot of us deal with racism since day one all the time, and these are supposed to be with people that love us, aka our families. A lot of people on my mom's side of the family were Aryan Nation skinheads. I didn't know what the fuck that was as a kid, and I didn't understand why everybody looked at me different, or why there was certain people in my family that just would never say hello to me or my dad or my mom because they were disgusted. And I didn't understand that as a kid. I didn't get it. I thought I had something on my face the way they were looking at me. You know how hard it is to nonstop be told, like, wow, you have your mom's face with just dark skin, with a look of disgust on their face while they say it, and not know why they feel disgusted to say such things. It's confusing. You gain a complex and you just don't feel beautiful. No matter how gorgeous you are, you change yourself. I straightened my hair every single day in high school so that people wouldn't run their fingers through my hair or try to pull my afro when I walked in the hallway. Like, there's so many things that we did to adjust to suburbia. Or how about going to school with my siblings who are white and I'm not? And everyone asking me if I was adopted from Africa as a joke because I'm the only black one. You know how much that fucking sucked? Like, nonstop being denied my own mother being my mother because of my skin color. Like, it was crazy. It's crazy. And then I get to college and people that look like me all of a sudden are denying my blackness, telling me I have to say I'm biracial and I can't say that I'm black. And that's the first time your blackness was ever denied because your whole life, that's all you've been seen as? Like, you know how fucking confusing that shit is?
Someone said they were shocked to find out that I was a white mom biracial. And honestly, that checks because there are a lot of toxic white mom, black child relationships. And I don't know about that. Because Heather is that girl and she recognizes that when you have black kids, they live a different life experience than you do. And she gave us all the tools that we needed to be equipped to handle that life experience. Shout out to my mom.